Hello guys, this is Al. I am recording another video about the residency season, and today I wanted to talk about a little bit more about interview, especially what kind of clinical question they might ask you during the Skype or even on-site interview. That basically is depend on you how much you want to deep mention about how much you have a clinical experience. But to me, I put mostly in my resume the clinical experience, but I didn't really brag about my clinical experience. Therefore, they might ask you what is has been highlighted in your resume. For example, they ask you, "Oh, you did, annual QA. What, how was what did you do for annual QA?" They were gonna talk about 3D tank, what you use, the software, what you use for the beam scanning, all of the fun stuff that there's mentioned in TG40 and TG 142. And then they might ask you, for example, what is monthly QA doing? And you definitely can talk about this, about like a monthly QA that you were doing this, like it consists of, for example, safety, mechanical check, and even some output check, energy check, and then for all photons and electrons and flatness and symmetry that you want to get from your profile. Therefore, also MLC check is one of the things that you do. Therefore, it's depend on you what you wanted to talk about it too, because that is how you bring it up. I say, oh, I did monthly QA. Therefore, definitely be ready for those kind of question. And if you wanted to talk about things, and definitely if you wanted to know the tolerances, that what kind of the tolerance they were talking about, like according to TG142 for daily monthly QA, what kind of tolerance you are looking at. Therefore, those things are is important. You don't want it to mess up with your opportunity if they wanted to ask you some clinical question. And they say, well, if, for example, output, we did the output check and it was off, what we should do. There were those kind of things that when you're gonna do the TG51, for example, for those kind of scenarios is super important. If you wanted to talk about it, how you adjust the output of the machine depends on the machine that you have, Electa or Variant machine, or if your clinic still has Siemens machine. Therefore, this is a thing that you can even study a little bit if you want, and be ready if you are claiming it in your resume. That definitely, for example, one of the questions that they asked me was about about the reading that, or M according to TG51, what kind of the factors that are really important and you should be careful about them. Therefore, all of those things has been listed in TG51, and you can briefly looking at it for your interview and make sure that you definitely can talk about it, and then don't make a big mistakes that it question your clinical experience. Therefore, those things are important. And for example, if you talk about LDR or XDR, HDR, I'm sorry, they might ask you, okay, you, for example, observed or participated in prostate brachytherapy. What kind of, for example, radioactive we use it? What kind of seeds we use it for the LDR and HDR? And you should be able to like say, oh, for example, I'm using palladium 103, iodine 125, or cesium 131. And basically you wanted to know what is their half-life is, why they're using it. and what is the energy you are dealing with. And if you have an external beam or the boost, um, how they combine, like for the boost, how much they get. Therefore, this is the thing that you should definitely know and talk about it, or they ask you this question, like for example, for the HDR, what kind of the source we are using. For example, iridium 192. And then how much dose we are delivering, the range, like 212 gray per hour for the LDR is different. For this kind of question that could be also answered in a very concise sentences and show that you're doing it, you know the concept, you know the physics, is very important. And also, I remember somebody asked me about IMRTQA. Therefore, how if your IMRTQA failed, how you can understand how you can troubleshoot, basically. Like if you're using Sun Nuclear or Scandidos or PTW, therefore you know wanted to know what kind of phantom you use, or how was your setup, the geometry setup, and then how you can, for example, if uh, your QA failed, what you can do. For example, you can uh, actually calculate the dose again in your treatment plan and resend it, and that is one of the things that also you can troubleshoot. Therefore, this is a little thing that shows that you are really working. And then they might ask you some question about the treatment planning. For example, sometimes that they wanted to know, can we compromise in some of the metrics for example, organic risk or OAR in the cost of, for example, the PTV. Therefore, you should know that some of the things, for example, if we have a serial organs, like a spinal cord, we should be very careful. There are therefore some maximum doses there that we cannot pass the dose constraint. Otherwise, we're gonna make a lot of complication for the patients. Therefore, this kind of scenario, what kind of algorithm, for example, you use in your TPS or treatment planning system, what kind of the metrics, for example, you use for your lungs when you wanted to assess your lungs in the lung treatment planning or esophageal treatment planning. Therefore, all of these things should be important, and you know how to talk about it based off the what you put in your resume. Therefore, I definitely suggest everybody that you're putting together your resume, and if you claim something or you talk about it during your Skype or on-site interview, be aware that you could be questioned on those things that you put there, but just they wanted to know really you did those stuff, or you just wrote it down in your resume or your cover letter. Therefore, these things that I just came to my mind from some clinical question that they asked me, and then I felt that is really relevant to the season of the interview, and I can make you sure that you are conscious about it, and they might ask you. And thank you for watching this video. Please give us thumbs up, subscribe for channel, and leave us a comment, that this way we can communicate. And thank you and have a wonderful evening. See you soon. Bye.